असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
Chapter we have to name of this chapter is financial management. Okay, and what we have to read, that is our syllabus. We have to read that concept and objectives of financial management, financial decisions, that is investing, financing, and dividend decision, and factors affecting those. Next we have the financial planning concept and importance. Next we have the capital structure concept and factors affecting. Then fixed asset and working capital concept and factors affecting their requirements. So this is the syllabus. These are the topics what we have to read in this chapter. So if we want to go to the definition of the financial management, before that let me ask you one thing, and then we'll get that overall view of this particular chapter and those topics. Okay. For example, if you want to start a new business, okay, first of all what you need, you will ask, means first of all you will think about what to start a business. Of course, capital. Now the question is, how do we judge that how much capital one business firm want? Or so whatever business you are going to start, how much capital you exactly need? How can you calculate that one? That can be calculated very simple way, because you just say, if you can recall that balance sheet, there are two types of assets a balance sheet have, or a business firm have. What are those? Current asset and non-current assets. Okay. So first of all, how much capital you required to calculate that one, you need to know, you need to understand that how much amount you have to invest in the different types of assets. Okay. So you have to decide that how much you have to invest in the short term assets, okay, and how much you have to invest in the long term assets. Okay. So the moment you will decide these two things, and these two things all together will be called as the investment decision. That means how much amount you have to invest in the business, that will be decided by these two things. That is how much you have to invest in the short term assets and how much you have to invest in the long term assets. And these together will be called as the investment decision. Now if you have understood, if you have decided, if you have got the figure, the how much amount you have to invest, that means you have taken that investment decision. Next thing you have to discuss or you have to keep in mind is what? You got the amount, how much capital you have to raise, how much capital you need for that particular business. So what is next you have to discuss? What next thing you have to decide upon? Yes, you are right. That is that the source of that capital, from which part, from what are the sources you can raise that much capital, what you have to invest. And as far, if you can recall in that 11th standard source of business finance chapter, there are mainly two sources of business fund. What are those? One is known as internal sources, and another one is known as the external sources. So, or in other way also we can discuss, say there are two ways, two sources of business finance. One is known as owner's fund, another one is known as the borrowed fund. So here in this case we have to consider that how much we have to we can invest from our own sources, that is the owner's fund, which is also known as the share capital in this concept. context. And another thing is the known as the debt capital, or also known as the borrowed fund. Now, in this regard, you have to keep one thing in mind. Whatever we'll discuss in this chapter, financial management, that will be discussed from the point of view of a joint stock company. Okay, we'll discuss this all financial management for a joint stock company and not for a sole proprietorship business or any other form of business. So in that regard, if you consider that after we have decided how much amount to be invested, then we have to decide that how much capital we can take from the owner's fund, that is share capital, and how much we can raise from the debt capital, that is the borrowed fund. And these two decisions together is known as the financing decision. That's the source from where we can raise that capital. Next, you have decided how much amount to raise. You have decided the sources of finance from where you will get that much money. Now the third case, before coming to the third decision, let me ask you one more question. If you raise fund from these people, from whatever source, it does not matter. If you raise that fund, at the end of the year, those people from whom you have raised money, they will ask you something, some return. Am I correct? Yes. Now, if this is the share capital, you have raised fund from them, at the end of the year, they will ask you कि भाई please give me something return. आप किसी से कोई भी benefit लिए हो, help लिए हो, तो आप क्या करते हो? Positively you say simply thanks if he has done very short help to you. But here that person, if that person will repay you money for a very long time, so they will also need something in return. So at the end of the year, you have to decide whether you will pay something to those shareholders or not, and whether to pay the shareholders. We know that the amount what we pay to the shareholders, that is known as dividend. So when you are discussing, when that business firm, when the company is deciding whether to pay the dividend or not, then that decision is known as the dividend decision. Okay. So in short, financial decision consists of three decisions. What are those? First, investment decision. That means how much amount you have to invest in the business. Second, financing decision. That means from what are the different sources to raise that much investment. And third, whether you have to pay dividend, whether the business firm, whether the company will pay dividend or not for a particular accounting year. So these three decisions all together known as the financial decision. Okay. If we'll go to discuss now that financial management, what is financial management? So the definition is, it may be defined as planning, organizing, directing and controlling of financial activities in a business enterprise. Okay guys, as you know that this finance is a very important resource of a business firm, because without that we cannot do anything. And on the other hand, we have to keep another thing in mind. This financial decision, this finance, whatever we have, the money, whatever we have in our hand, that is very much means if you have raised some money from any sources, whatever sources, does not matter, you have to pay some return for them. So as a result, you need to be very careful to handle those amounts. Okay, and if you cannot manage those things properly, then you cannot run your business very efficiently. And how to manage those, in this chapter we'll learn it. So if you want to know about the objectives of financial management, then in one word answer, the main objective or primary objective of the financial management is the wealth maximization. What is the primary concept, primary objective of the financial management? It is wealth maximization. So the next question comes, wealth maximization for whom? For whom that financial manager will maximize the wealth? Obviously, the answer is for the owner. And who are the owners of that business? Obviously, those people who have supplied this share capital. In other words, we can say the main objective or primary objectives of financial management is the wealth maximization of the shareholders. Okay. Now, a question may come, very simple question may raise, ki we are seeing here that another source of business finance is also there. So why should we only think about that maximizing the shareholders' capital, maximizing the wealth maximization of the shareholders? In this regard, we have to keep in mind that one shareholder gets their return after repaying everything, after giving everything for all other people. So when the shareholders getting some money, that means all other people have got their due amount. Did you get it? I can give you one very simple example. For example, just to think, for any business, for any party, okay, for any party, how many types of invitees attend that party? Okay, you are right. There are three types of invitees. Who are they? One, who arrange the party. Second time, the close relatives of those who the host who hosting the party. And third, they are the neighbors. They are the other people who are not that much close to them. Okay. So when it comes for the food materials to offer the food, who gets that? Who eat first? Obviously, those people who comes from the outside, the neighbors and all other people. Okay. Next who get? Next get that chance the close relatives of those who are hosting the party. And at last, those people get the food stuff who are hosting the party. Alright, did you get it? Now, if we bring that same idea for a business firm, for a company, then we get that same thing. How? You just see, I told you there are two sources of business finance. What are those? One is debt capital, another one is the share capital. And there are two types of shares. One is known as equity shares and another one is known as the preference shares. Right? And this debt capital mainly consists of debentures. Now, these debentures holder, they are the outsider of the business. They just interested in their money, their interest, and they known as the outsider. So who are the other two guys? Here are those I told you: equity share and preference share. Preference shares also are they are neither they are neither consist as the debt capital nor as the owner, because preference shareholders get some preferences. So they are considered as the close relatives. Then who are the host here for a company? Obviously the equity shareholders. Right? Now you just come to the point. So when we are making any profit and loss account, first of all, to whom we have to return money? Obviously the debt capital, because they are the third category of people, they are the outsider. Next, to whom we will offer? The preference shareholders, because they are the close relatives. And who will get last? Obviously the equity shareholders, because they are the host. And that is the point. If the equity shareholders are getting any return, what does it mean? That means that they have already paid the debenture holders as well as preference shareholders. And that is why if we can consider, or if we can maximize the wealth of the equity shareholders, it means that that all other people have got their due amount, whatever amount is due there, and as a result it satisfies the need of every person who are involved in that business. Okay, in this regard we have to keep one thing in mind. As I have told you that equity shareholders get their return at the end, as therefore equity shareholders are the residual owners. What is the residual owner? That means they get their return at the end. If something will remain, then only they will get their return, otherwise not. Okay, so this is what we have learned so far. We have read about the financial decision. There are three types of financial decision: investment decision, financing decision, and dividend decision. In investment decision, there are two decisions we have to take: how much we have to invest in the short-term assets and how much you have to invest in the long-term assets. In the financing decision, we have read that we have seen that the source of business finance, how much you have to raise from the owner's capital and how much you have to raise from the borrowed capital. And in the dividend decision, we have seen that whether we will repay the dividend, whether we will pay the dividend to the shareholders or not. Okay. Then we have read about the definition of the financial management, and after that we have read about the objectives. And we have seen that there is a very simple objective of the financial management, and that is to maximize the wealth of equity shareholders.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
That investment first decision was the investment decision. Okay, and there are two types of investment decision. One is long term and another one is the short term. That means how much amount you have to invest in the long term assets, that is the non-current assets, and how much you have to invest in the short term assets, that is current assets. Long term investment decision is also known as capital budgeting decision. These decisions are very crucial. Why they are very crucial? Because once you will take that decision, you cannot change it. Once you have spent that money for buying any fixed asset, you cannot change the decision. And even if you have changed that decision after buying that asset, then you have to suffer huge loss. So this decision is very important. For example, suppose you have taken a decision to buy one machinery costing rupees, say 50 lakh rupees. After you have done everything, after just buying, after that all those contract has been signed, you got one information that there is a latest variation of that same machine is available in the market, and that is the cost of that machine is 40 lakh rupees. Now, what will happen? Once you have taken the decision, you have spent the money, now you cannot change the decision. Even if you want to change it, you have to suffer huge loss. Okay, so that is the thing. Next thing is that short-term investment decision. Short-term investment decision is also known as working capital decision. Okay, what is the meaning of working capital decision? That means day to day, to run your business, day to day business activities, you need some money. And that amount, how much amount you have to invest, from where you will get it, that decision is known as the working capital decision. Okay, we'll read these two things in details later on. Next, we have to learn about the financing decision. I told you earlier, in financing decision, we have to discuss, we have to know how much money we have to raise from the owner's fund and how much amount we have to raise from the borrowed fund. Okay. Now, owner's fund there are three items of the owner's fund. What are those? Equity shares, preference shares, and retained earning. Okay. Equity shares, preference shares, and retained earning. And borrowed fund consists of generally the debentures. Borrowed fund consists of debentures. Okay. Now we have to keep one thing in mind, that the moment you are raising your fund from this debenture or the borrowed fund, you have two problems. What are those two problems? That you have to pay the interest every month or every year. Does not matter whether you have profit or suffered loss, you have to pay the amount of interest every year. And after a certain period of time, you have to pay the principal amount. That means how much borrowed fund you have raised, you have to pay that much money to those debenture holders. Okay. So the moment you have taken loan from someone, you have to keep in mind that you have to repay the interest every year and you have to pay the principal amount at a certain time. Now, the question is, one very simple question may arise. Then if we have these two problems, that moment we will take loan from someone, will suffer problem for payment of this money as well as payment of principal money, then why should we raise? Okay, the answer is very simple. The answer is very simple means that cost what we have to incur for this debenture, that cost is very cheap, that cost is very lower in comparative to the owner's fund. The cost of the borrowed fund is very less. Okay, so that is why, so that is the main interesting ingredients for debentures, and that will show us why we need to take this financial decision very properly. Otherwise we will face problem. Why? In case of these debentures are risky. As I told you that why they are risky, because we have to pay the interest amount every year and you have to pay the principal amount at the end of the stipulated time. So this is risky. Okay. But on the other hand, the cost of these debentures and those debt capital are very less, cheapest source. We call this one as the cheapest source of fund. So two problems. One, it is risky, but it is cheaper. Okay. Now come to the owner's fund. In case of owner's fund, there is no such risk to repay the interest amount or the principal amount. Okay, but there is a problem. The cost of this owner's fund is very high. Okay, now you try to understand the condition. Borrowed fund, high risk but low cost. owner's fund, no risk but very high cost, very costly. So now that is the function, that is the work of the financing decision, to mix these two source of business fund, okay, this source of this owner's fund and borrowed fund in such a way so that their risks will be low as well as cost will also be low. So that is why we need to take this financing decision. Okay, so just to see here, the finance manager of a firm should try to make a judicious mix of both the owner's fund and borrowed fund to minimize risk and maximize return. And that is why the financing decision is very important. Okay. Now, next topic we have to read about the factors affecting financial decision. Okay, what are those factors that affects the financial decision? First one is the cost of capital. First point is the cost of capital. Okay, now there is a proverb that no meal is free in this world, in the business world, and more specifically for a business world, no meal is free. What does it mean? That from whatever source you are using, does not matter, that source of finance is not free of cost. For each of such source, you have to pay some cost. Okay? Okay. And that is known as the cost of capital. The cost what a business firm, what a company have to incur for their source of business finance is known as cost of capital. So obviously we'll try to invest money from that capital, that source where the cost is low. So if the finance manager want to keep their cost of capital low, then they will try to invest from the borrowed capital. Okay. So here factors affecting financial decision, here we are trying to find out those factors which will decide that whether we'll invest money from owner's capital or borrowed capital. Okay. Second point is the risk. I told you just few minutes back that which source of finance is riskier? Yes, you are right, the borrowed fund. And which are less risky? Yes, owner's fund. So now if the financial manager don't want to take that much risk, obviously they will choose which source of business finance? Owner's fund. Okay, so that is that risk involved. Okay. Third point, cash flow position. This is very important. So what is the meaning of cash flow position? The meaning of cash flow position is that how much, whether the cash flow of the business is well and not. What does it mean? That means continuously whether the business firm get money in their hand or not. Okay. Now if the credit transaction of a business firm is very high, that means that cash they get that is very low, then to invest from the debt capital will be very risky. Okay, what did I say? In other words, if the cash flow position of a firm is strong, what is the meaning of strong? That means they always have a good amount of cash in their hand. In such a case, they can easily invest their capital from the debt capital. Why? Because as I told you earlier that always the debt capital, to the debt capital we have to pay two things, interest as well as their principal amount. Now if the business firm don't have that much cash in their hand, they will unable to pay that much debt, that amount. Therefore they will be in a false position, in a wrong position. Therefore the opposite case, if there is a good flow of cash, That means that firm always have a good amount of cash in their hand. They can easily go for the debt capital, and they will not consider the owner's capital. Fourth point is the control consideration. What does it mean of control consideration? The control consideration means whether the existing shareholders, they want to dilute their controlling power or not. What is the meaning of existing shareholders don't want to dilute their control power? What is the meaning of don't want to dilute their control power? Let me give you an example. Suppose let us take a very simple example. Suppose in a company there are only 100 shares and 100 shareholders. Although this is not a original example, 100 shares cannot be, a company cannot have 100 shares only, but for our simplicity, let us consider that one, that 100 shares are there and there are 100 shareholders. Okay, and if we will make it more simple, the value of one share is 1 rupees. Then how much capital the company have? 100 rupees. How many shares we have? 100. And how many shareholders we have? 100. Right? Now, for any reason, if the company want to raise another 100 rupees as capital, okay, what will happen now? If the company want to issue another 100 shares and will have another 100 shareholders, then altogether how many shareholders we will have now? 100 we had earlier plus 100 we are issuing now. So altogether how many shareholders? 200 shareholders. So what had happened? Earlier how many shareholders? 100 shareholders. So one shareholders had that managing power of how much? 1 by 100. Right? Did you get it? Okay. Now the moment they have issued another 100 shares, what had happened? What is the total amount of shares? 200. Now one person have how much power? Holding power? 1 by 200. That means what? The moment 100 shares has been issued, the controlling power of those shares has been diluted, reduced. So if those existing shareholders don't want to dilute their controlling power, they will always prefer to the borrowing fund, that is a debenture. But if they don't mind to lose their control, that means if they don't bother, does not matter whether they will lose their controlling power or not, then no problem, they can issue further capital. Okay. Next point is the flotation cost. The word flotation cost means the amount what we spend to raise that particular finance. It refers to cost involved in issue of securities. Okay, what does it mean? For example, if you want to issue shares, you have to spend lots of money to issue those. For example, you have to issue prospectus, you have to hire a broker, and you have to give advertisement, and for all those things you need to pay money. So all of those money what you have spent to issue that security, that is known as flotation cost. Now if suppose for a business, for a particular source, that flotation cost is very high, obviously the company will think twice whether they will take that particular source or not. So in other words, we can say the firm prefers securities which involve least flotation cost. Okay. Next point is the fixed operating cost. What is that next one? Fixed operating cost. Operating cost means those costs which a business firm have to incur to operate, to run that particular business fund. Now, if a business firm already have a huge fixed operating cost, okay, what does it mean? Suppose they have a huge operational cost, that salary, advertisement, all other things, that cost is already very huge. All right. Now, if that firm will opt for such source for which they have to pay interest, or they have to incur cost every month or every year, therefore their total cost will incur. So in such case, when the fixed operating cost of a business firm is already very high, in that case they will never think to take any such source of business finance where the financing cost is also high. Okay, so in such a case, if the business firm have a high fixed operating cost, then the business firm will never try to invest further capital from the debt finance. Okay, so that means what? If they had a fixed operating cost, a higher fixed operating cost, they will think to reduce the debt finance. Next point, we have state of capital market. In general, you have to know the economy of a country passes through different phases which have different name, like boom phase, like depression phase, and so on. The main feature of boom phase is that the economy is in a very good condition. Okay, so if economy is in a very good condition, that means the employment is very good, the disposable income in the hand of the general public is very good. The moment you have huge amount or a good amount in your hand, and you are ready to invest some money out of that fund what you have. So at that time, when you have lots of money in your hand, that is in the boom phase, that time you are ready to take risk. You are ready to take risk. So from the point of view of an investor, risky source means the shares, where the chance of return is very high, but there is no guarantee whether they will get that money back or not. So in that phase, when you are ready to take some risks to earn some more money, that means when the economy is in the boom phase, at that time you means here the investor may able or may want to invest in the equity shares. Okay, so in such a condition, those companies, to raise their business fund, raise their finance, they can easily issue the equity share. Whereas when the economy in the depression phase, just like what we are going through now, that condition of the economy is very gloomy. Okay, people are losing their job, and in that case, that people have less money in their hand to spend. In such a condition, what will happen? Even the people want to invest money in such a condition, then what will happen? They will take less risk. They will try to invest in such a place where at least they can get their money back. Okay, in that case, in this condition, we have to keep in mind those debentures are very much safe for the investors. Okay, so in such a condition, when the economy is in the depression phase, that time people may or investors may like to buy the debt capital. Okay, hence the company, if the company is going through in the depression phase of the economy, they have to issue debenture to raise their capital.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति.
Next topic what we have to learn, that is dividend decision. Okay. Dividend decision means what? Whether the firm will pay the dividend to the shareholders or not. Okay. In this regard, we have to keep in mind two things. One is dividend, another one is retained earning. There is a completely inverse relationship between these two. If the company, if we'll take two extreme conditions, if the company will pay 100% dividend, then the retained earning will be 0. Whereas if the company will pay 100% retained earning, will keep 100% earning as retained, they will keep that one as reserve, then what will be the dividend? 0. So in the dividend decision, the finance manager have to make a decision, have to take a decision. Anything in between these two extremes, that is 0% retained earning and 100% dividend, or 100% retained earning and 0% dividend. So in the finance manager have to take a decision, have to either have to pay some dividend and retain some earning, and what will be that percentage, how much they will pay as dividend and how much they will keep as retained earning, that is the decision they have to take. In this regard, we have to keep in mind, suppose you just think about the situation, how much money you are earning as your salary or salary. If you spend the whole money, at present you spend the whole money, what will happen? In future, if you will face any trouble, you will not get any money. Alright? Or just think about the opposite. If you are not spending any money, you are trying to save all of your salary, what will happen? You will die without eating anything. So you have to make a balance. You have to spend some money and you have to save some money. So in this chapter, in this topic, we have to learn what should we do so that to make a decision to how much to reinvest, or how much it has to keep as reserve, and how much has to spend, how much have to give to the shareholders. Okay. So the definition is, this decision is concerned with whether to distribute profit as dividend to equity shareholders or retain profits to reinvest into the business. Okay. Next, when the company retains earning for future investment, the dividend to shareholder decreases, but it will increase the future earning capacity of the company. The moment the future earning capacity will increase, ultimately the shareholders will only benefit. Because we have learned the main purpose of the financial management is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. Okay, so this is the thing we have to keep in mind, and accordingly we have to take the decision that how much to retain and how much to pay as dividend. Okay, next, the factors what affect the dividend policy. Factors affecting dividend policy. So what are those? First one is the earning. It is very simple. You know that what is the meaning of dividend, right? Dividend means the part of profit. Okay. Now, if the company don't have earning, if the company don't have profit, then there is no question of paying the dividend. Okay. So, so a company can pay the dividend only if the company has sufficient earning. Okay, so that is the first point, earning. Okay, if the earning is higher, the company can pay a higher dividend. If the earning is lower, company will pay the lower dividend. Second point is the stability of earning. Okay, we know the earning of a company cannot be stable. Okay, now, and that also varies between company to company. Few companies can earn huge money over few years, after that that may decline, and vice versa. Few companies have almost a even income. Okay, so those companies which have a stable income, stable earning, they can pay a stable dividend, no problem. They may think about a higher dividend rate. Okay, and if they don't have the stable income, they will not. They will try to pay lower dividend or even sometimes no dividend. Another one is the stability of dividend. Third point, stability of dividends. What do we know? The earning of any company is not certain. That should vary. That will vary. Now, if it will happen that the company, according to the income, that company will pay dividend, so that dividend may vary. Sometimes it may very high, sometimes it may very low. So to overcome from that problem, company may stabilize the dividend. And how they can stabilize the dividend? They can pay a constant dividend per share. That company may say, okay, will pay 10% or rupees 2 per share every year. Whatever may be the condition, does not matter. Will pay 2 per share dividend every year. So that is the constant dividend per share. Number B is the constant payout ratio. Constant payout ratio means the company may declare that they will pay a dividend at 70% of the profit. Whatever may be the profit, does not matter, they will pay 70% as dividend. So that is the constant payout ratio. C, constant dividend per share plus extra. Constant dividend per share means, suppose what I said, that is 2 per share plus, after paying 2 per share, if anything is left, then something extra can also be given. Okay, so that is the stability of dividend. That means the shareholders can judge their amount of dividend in advance. Okay. Next, growth opportunities. If a company have growth, future growth opportunity, if the company know okay, they have many profitable avenues where they may invest their money so that they can earn more. So if the company have growth opportunity, positively they will pay less dividend at this time. In the present time, they will pay less dividend. So if a company has many profitable investment opportunities, then it should reinvest the earnings. In such a case, the company will declare less dividend to the shareholders. Whereas if the company don't have any no longer they have any investment opportunity. Okay, so in that case there is no need to keep money in their hand. So if they don't want to keep money in their hand, obviously they will pay more dividend. Next point, cash flow position. To pay dividend, what we need? Obviously cash. So if that cash flow position of the business is good, the company will try to pay higher dividend. And if the cash flow position of the company is not good, then the company will try to give less dividend. Next, shareholders preference. This is the most important thing, shareholders preference. Why it is most important thing? If there are many types of shareholders. So if the number of small and retired shareholders is huge in a company, then they will always ask for a regular income. The moment the shareholders need a regular income from the company, they will opt for a more dividend. Okay, therefore that company in such a case, when that small investors or retired shareholders are there, the company need is huge, then the company will have less retained earning. Why less retained earning? Because the shareholders will ask for more return, more income, regular income. As a result, the company has to pay more dividend. Whereas if the company have the wealthy investors who want their future appreciation of their capital, future appreciation of their investment, so those the investors, they will prefer much more capital gain. Capital gain means that increase in the value of their share price. Okay, and in such a condition, that much dividend just now, retain those, invest those in the business again. So if the shareholders are wealthy, then the company will pay less dividend. Okay. Next point is the taxation policy. In the current taxation policy of India's current taxation policy, according to that, shareholders don't have to pay any tax on the dividend they receive, whereas company have to pay the tax on that dividend. So in that case, if the tax rate is very high, the company will not pay that dividend, because they will think we have to pay dividend and you have to pay higher tax as well. Okay. On the other hand, if the tax rate is not that much high, the company will think to pay more dividend. Okay. Next one is the stock market reaction. Stock market reaction means, suppose you think if you distribute sweets, what will happen? Obviously people will become happy on you, to whom you have given sweets. If the person obviously don't have, that person is not a sugar patient, so the person will become very happy. So if you consider that this dividend as the sweets, and if the company wants to make that stock market happy, then they may give more dividend. Okay. Next, access to capital market. What is the meaning of this? How quickly the company can go to the capital market to raise their capital. Okay. If that suppose, just you think, one person is the one person house is in the mid of the market, and another person reside, suppose 7 kilometers away from the market, right? Now which person who will store more goods in their house? The question is clear. Okay. So who will store more goods? Obviously, the person who stays 7 kilometers or 8 kilometers away from the market. Why? Because the access to the market is not that much good. All right. So, in a for a business firm also that matter is same. If the access to that company, the access to the capital market is easy for a business, then they will not keep that much money in their hand. So in that case, they will prefer to pay more dividend. Whereas if the company, the access to the capital market is not that much easy for that company, that means what? They have to retain more money. So the moment they will retain more money, obviously what will happen? The amount of the dividend will decrease. Next point is the legal constraint. Companies Act, Companies Act always prohibit 100% payment of dividend. Okay, so even the company one, they cannot pay 100% as dividend. They have to retain some money for the future purpose. Next point is the contractual constraints. Contractual constraints means if the company has taken too much loan from the third parties, if the company has borrowed huge amount from the third parties, in such a condition, although that company is earning huge profit, but those money lenders, they may put some burden. They may restrict the company to pay the dividend. They will try to convince the company not to pay maximum dividend, how much they can pay. Rather, they will tell them to restrict the payment of the dividend, because the company has taken loan from them, and the loan may be huge amount. Okay, so when companies take long term loan, then financier may put some restrictions or constraints on distribution of dividend. Okay, and as the company has taken the loan already, therefore the company has to obey that one. So these are the factors what you have learned about the affecting.